10 hours to do. And again, these aren't like static numbers, like we have to stay to only 10 hours a semester. We can always revise the bylaws in future years to determine whether or not that standard is too low or if it's too high, and come up with a better medium just in the direction that our chapter is going in. And so I think that's really important for sisters to find whatever they're passionate about and be able to do and complete more service hours if they feel that that's what they're capable of. And then lastly, we have like a social media standard. So we have a monitoring just to make sure that sisters do not have pictures of them like on inappropriate pictures on Facebook of them like drinking or underage drinking or etc. like that. But I think that we've tried to turn that more back to the sisters themselves individually and self-monitor. And so we tell sisters, or we ask sisters, like, would you be proud if a recruiter or potential employer saw these pictures on Facebook of you like this? And so, like, kind of, again, not having the judicial board to monitor that, but put it back on the sisters to do, and keep themselves accountable for how they appear to others. So.
So next I'm going to talk about sustainability. So with this, we, at our house, like, obviously, like, we recycle and whatnot, and we think that's a really big, important part of just, like, being able to kind of make sure we're leaving as small of an impact on the environment as possible. In addition to that, we are reuse and repurpose lots of different materials. So for example, for Greek Week, we always reuse, we save old toilet paper rolls, old paper towel rolls, newspapers that are going to be thrown out, and we use those for things like banner, like paper macheing, crafting for different stuff. So we think it's a great way just to make sure that we're not, you know, going out buying fresh new things when we have things that'll work perfectly fine already. In addition to that, for recruitment, we reuse and repurpose each of the decorations from year to year. So last year's recruitment, we got a bunch of old glass bottles and cans and mason jars, spray painted them, decorated them, etc. And then we've used those for 2 recruitments now, and we'll continue to do so. So it's a great way just to make sure we're, again, leaving as small of an impact on the environment as possible, as well as being financially aware, I guess you could say.
And then the picture on here is just how, like, a recycling chart that we have posted on our refrigerator in the house. So it's like right by the recycling bins, and we also label them so that people that don't live in the house know where certain items go. So just to kind of assist with that process. And so after looking through all the themes and discussing the different programs that we do, we reflected on like our future plans and areas of growth that we can do as a chapter. And so I think the biggest one from our Vice President of Philanthropy was encouraging more of individual reflection or just a chapter reflection as a whole. So this upcoming year, she's actually including a little section underneath our reporting form of like a 1 to 2 sentence like kind of reflection of how the activity or service went, how they think it impacted them, impacted the community, and if this is something that like they find worthwhile doing. And so we thought that was like a small step in just trying to get more of that prompting more reflection of sisters. And then again, when we're doing these big service events, continuing to do big group reflection, because I think what one sister gets out of the activity can be really different from another. So it could be neat to hear the different perspectives when we do this as a whole. And then our Vice President of Philanthropy again wants to really encourage sisters to find service projects that they're really passionate about, because I think she wants people to view service as something that they find worthwhile, something that they like doing, not necessarily because they have to complete requirements. And so she really wants to work with individual sisters to find projects more specific to them and that they like. And then hopefully that they can get other sisters involved in the cause as well.
Our whole purpose is we really want to reform it from doing service just because it's a requirement, and focusing more on they want to do service because they really see the impact and the importance of it in their community. So that's something we're really going to try and emphasize for this next year. In addition to that, we've been looking into planning an alternative spring break trip. We think this would be a really great way to get sisters like truly immersed in the service experience, be able to see how they're able to really tangibly affect a community. I know I went on some mission trips when I was in high school, and being able to really see the results of your work of, okay, we're going to start day 1 and we have nothing, and by week 2 we have like the outside of a house, and like we're able to really see that impact. I think that really empowers sisters and people to see the importance of the service they're doing. In addition to that, continuing on with presentations about campus policies, we want to make sure sisters are aware of things like, any Title IX updates, like those are always very important. Things like medical amnesty. We think that really ties into the culture of care of knowing priority number 1 is making sure sisters are safe. Priority number 2 is like, okay, but like what were they doing? It's like we want to make sure their first reaction is to be taking care of each other and looking after each other, so making sure they're aware of our policies and their rights as individuals. In addition to that, something we've taken on for this year is in sustainability is collecting shirts that seniors, for our senior willing, a lot of times they'll give away, half a dozen shirts, but they're just like, oh, I just don't want these anymore. So instead, collecting those into like a big big tub, and then from there, bigs can come and pick out a few shirts for their future littles. So we think not only is that going to be recycling shirts throughout the chapter, so you get something that maybe was like, oh wow, this is from like 5 years ago, that's so cool that like this is like what they were doing then. But it also helps take financial strain off of bigs, which is something we really want to move away from having the focus of the big little relationship being on, like monetary gifts, but instead being on like what they can do for their littles as a mentor.
So kind of just to conclude and reiterate why we think we really hit the distinction benchmark. So again, we've had purposeful programming the past year on exec, and so again, like trying to really get sisters to think, prompt sisters to be more accountable and kind of see that they are a bigger piece, or they are like see the whole of campus, the case community and the Cleveland community. And also, we've taken a lot of different initiatives on campus with social justice like DBA Week and Walk a Mile. And I think our collaborative efforts on campus has really helped us to exceed, and we want to continue to keep doing that with campus members and as well as community members. And then also, we foster this culture in our chapter of just kind of looking out for each other, and beyond that, looking out for your friends when you're out and about, and if something doesn't seem comfortable, to speak up about it, or at least be able to tell someone. And then also, I think that we've really tried to individually empower our sisters to do good around the community, and like find those passions that they want and carry forward when they graduate from the institution. Because again, as individuals here, I think a big part of citizenship is being a well-rounded individual after graduation and being aware of different causes outside. And so exposure to different philanthropy efforts within other chapters help prompt those passions. And did you have anything else to add?
No, I think Stephanie really summed it up well. I think one of the main things that we really have hit with citizenship is just the way it really is ingrained in our culture. So sisters really feel that they're making that personal difference in their community, and like they're enjoying doing so. So like different events we put on, like so many girls are so passionate about our philanthropy and about those types of things. So it's great to be able to really empower them to continue making a difference in their community. But
And with that,
yeah, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them now.
Do you think you can elaborate on, the reasoning behind some of your past service events?
So like why
Why specific locations were chosen?
So for the Twinkle Shop, that was because, again, I think as Alpha Chi's nationally, we adopt local shelters, so the DVCAC for us is our local shelter that we work with, and so Twinkle Shop was something that they were really closely tied to. And then with Laura's home, again, I think the specific location was that because, again, it relates to domestic violence awareness and just the alignment of that. But for the big service day projects during Sisterhood Week, I think that was just chosen purely because we have a lot of sisters to accommodate, and not a lot of these places can accommodate all 100 of us at once. So, yeah.
Yeah. And plus, it's a great way to do service like within the case community. So like Steph kind of touched on, we try and do projects that are involved with our philanthropy, but we can't always do so just because of the secret nature of a lot of these shelters, to make sure that these women and children and men are all safe and not being found by their abusers and whatnot. So like trying to find things kind of outside of that is a little bit difficult for our chapter. But I think we've been trying to do the best we can to really involve ourselves in that philanthropy.
So it sounds, go for it.
Well, this is sort of piggybacking on service. I know you said that you were looking for ways to encourage reflection after service. I was wondering if you guys, because it does seem like you have so many projects that do sort of surround your philanthropy and educational events around domestic violence awareness. Do you find that those projects you do more reflection, like when you go to the shelters versus doing something like at the nature center, or do you feel like you're working to infuse reflection throughout all of your service activities?
I think we end up kind of reflecting more on it when it is like, for example, DVA week and we're doing those sorts of events, just because again that's something that's so close to our hearts that we'll be having these great conversations at our dinner table of like talking about like this social issue and being able to kind of reflect on that outside of a structured forum. But what we're trying to do is kind of formalize the process more, so then within, you know, if someone goes to volunteer at Rainbow Babies, so like, okay, so why are you doing this? Like, being intentional with their service, not just to fill the requirement, as we were saying before, but something that they're really passionate about and they're going to want to continue on doing.
Mm-hmm. So just being more intentional rather than just having people serve and come back.
Exactly. It's like, I think I personally get a lot more out of my service when I have kind of a more consistent area or I feel like I'm really making a difference. Whereas like if I'm just going to a bunch of different random events that are kind of disjunct, it's like, well, okay, maybe I'm making a difference, but how much am I really impacting? So making sure that sisters are being able to do projects and maybe reflecting of, wow, I really loved working with all these kids. Like, what can I do in order to kind of keep fostering that excitement I feel about helping them? So making sure they're reflecting so then they can come back and say, I really love doing this. What can I do to like do more of it? Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, kind of where we're trying to go with the reflection.
Any follow-ups? I don't want to. So, I don't know which one I was going to ask. Oh, okay. We can go to this one. So I think that you talked about how you have a lot of members who are involved in a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, do you provide space within a chapter meeting or whether it's at the house to kind of let them speak to those experiences and have people understand others' backgrounds, things like that? Does that make sense at all? I kind of rambled a little bit.
Kind of. We do have, I know one of our some of our sisters are very involved in like the UH Hospital, Rainbow Babies, and like I know one of my really good friends in the chapter volunteers at Rainbow Babies, you know, every week, and she loves to talk about like, oh, this is what I did today, and these are the kids I got to talk to, and like loves to share kind of like those fun stories and whatnot. I don't think we really have anything kind of like formalized, but I think it's always just kind of like an open, talking about like what you've been doing, that sort of thing. We have another sister, Shakira, who's very involved in, isn't it? Cecil Fellows, but she does a lot of like the Big Brothers Big Sisters sort of thing. So she is always like looking to get sisters more involved in that. She always will send out emails being like, hey, I think this would be a really great event for a bunch of Alpha to go to, and really encourages her sisters to come out that way. So, well, I don't think we have a formalized system of during chapter we talk about, oh, what did you do this week for like citizenship or like volunteering type thing. Sisters feel comfortable kind of reaching out and kind of spreading what they're doing for service.
When they're involved in an organization, like for example, Dance Marathon, and we have like they have these programs like this that they're making a really positive change in. They're like welcome to make announcements about the program and encourage sisters to attend as well. And that's like sort of I guess like a more formal way that we kind of prompt their passions is by them being able to tell sisters about events that are happening that they can be involved in as well.
Yeah, we do have presentations in chapter. We have lots of sisters who are involved with like things like Relay for Life, as Steph mentioned, Dance Marathon.
There we go.
Yeah, Spartan. The Colleges Against Cancer. So like sisters who are really involved in these different organizations will come make announcements during chapter in order to be like, this week coming up, or sign up for Relay, or kind of just to encourage sisters to get involved in what they're passionate about.
Thank you. So another one I have. It sounds like in your judicial board, you have some really good conversations, and I was wondering how you got to the point where that's the way they function. Like, is there a training for the board members? Like, how are they able to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I was the head of our judicial board this past year, so I can kind of speak to that. Basically, we have kind of come a long way. I think with our judicial process, it comes a lot of like the mindset of we're here to help, we're not here to punish. That's kind of how I wanted to tackle my year as our judicial chair. So with that, really making sure we have a kind of mock CRSB, which is our Child Relations and Standards Board. So then we have kind of, that's the transition for them. So the board is able to kind of work together and discuss different kind of fake cases that come through. And then the old board members will come in and like be the different cases. So we'll typically have, you know, something maybe a little bit easier if like someone's below our GPA. But then we'll have like a tougher case of, well, what do we do if we have sisters who were caught drinking in the house with a new member? So like, how are we going to address things that are a bit of a stickier situation? It's really like a free space for them to kind of talk and like, you know, sit back and be like, okay, what do we really want to do in this situation? And I think it really encourages them to not just necessarily jump to the conclusion of, well, oh, they broke a rule, like we have to punish them, but why did this happen? What can we do to kind of fix it? So I think having that formalized training really helps them kind of have time to really reflect on what they think the best option is.
I did have a question. Do you think you could elaborate again on the point of participation in other chapters philanthropy events? I think you mentioned something on making an organizational change.
Yeah. So like what we did like this past year was like set aside like a big budget to make sure that we can enter teams into certain events. Just because we find everyone else's like philanthropies like as valid as ours, you know, and we want to really encourage sisters to be more aware of the different philanthropic efforts that everyone's a part of. And so the reason why we started to, as a chapter, pay for teams is to eliminate that barrier that might stand in the way, because it's great to be a part of these events, but sometimes like money is an issue. So being able to attend these events for free and learn more about the causes themselves, I think we found as a chapter to be more helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? That's about it.
Okay.
Well, do you have anything for us? Any other questions?
I don't think so. I think
Cool.
we're pretty good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Sorry about